my lovely assistant, Tanya. She's going to help out with the computer. So I haven't really planned what to speak about, but I have 3 points I want to cover. The first one is why I think passion matters. The second one is what I have done with my passion to try and fit it into my lifestyle and make an impact with my passion. And the third one, I'm not going to mention the third one just yet. That's going to be a surprise. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to cover. And so, to talk about passion, I think we need to talk about a finite resource which we all share. Some have more of it than others, and that is time. So, actually, if you hit Google Pictures and enter the phrase "time is money," and what does that mean to you guys? Time is money. Does anyone have perhaps an idea of what that phrase means to them? Mikael?
Time is very valuable. It's one of the more, even as valuable as money, because money basically keeps you alive. Because that's the thing that a human society use to get dinner on the table and get the whole system working.
Yeah, the way society has been constructed, money is essential for our survival, at least in most societies, in modern society. And so time is money, and it means just that, what he mentioned. It's sort of a way of emphasizing the value of time. But I think that's kind of missing the whole point, because to me, time is something which cannot ever be measured in terms of money. Because, I mean, we live in a society where we are encouraged, both politically and with commercials and everything, to purchase other people's time and to actually sell our own time. Now, that may seem a bit abstract, but what I mean is, let's say these smoothies are free because this is such a nice event, but let's say regularly, in a normal situation, if I wanted to buy a smoothie, then first of all, I have to sell some of my time, because I have to earn money to be able to afford a smoothie. The other thing is, someone has to construct this cup, this straw, and the contents of it. So it's a natural part of the way the world works that we're either gonna sell our time to earn money, and then we're gonna spend our money, which requires for someone else to sell their time. Now, I don't think this is a problem. I just think we need to consider it. So, if you hit the link, I think it's the next one actually, right there.
Facebook?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so should be a picture coming up in just a moment. This one. This is a quote by one of the many people who inspires me, Shifu Yang-ming, who's a Shaolin monk. I don't know if you'd call him perhaps a former Shaolin monk, because he actually escaped from the Shaolin temple, and because he wanted freedom, and he's in the United States. But that's a bit of a digression. What he says here is what I'm interested in. If I want to do it, nothing is difficult. If I don't want to do it, nothing is easy. To me, that sentence makes a lot of sense, because I struggle with everything I'm not passionate about, and that's just the way it's always been for me, at least. I have I don't know, do you guys feel the same, or perhaps some of you, yeah, and perhaps someone doesn't, perhaps someone is really good at doing things even though they don't have the emotional drive, perhaps they can just do it anyways. Any of you?
Yeah, I think I'm I'm okay with that, even though it's maybe not as fun.
Yeah, great. That's a great ability. I have this theory. My theory is that there are two sorts of activities. I may be wrong, but I know this applies to me at least. There's the activities which require my mental focus, and for these, in order to do them well, I have to have some emotional investment in them. And then there's the other kind of activities, the ones which don't require much focus. Like, for instance, this is also a talk about work, so I'll mention some of my own work experiences. For instance, I've worked as a cashier in a supermarket. This didn't require much focus for me at all, because it was pretty much it's just a habitual sort of act. I didn't need to be passionate to be able to do this sort of thing. And I think that's because the sort of activities where we don't need to focus, they can be approached in two ways, I think. They can be approached as a form of meditation, and they can be approached as a form of escapism. Now, they can also just be approached as like terrible work which just brings you down, but let's forget about that. So what I mean about escapism is that didn't go much better. Anyways, what I mean about that is like, for instance, let's say I was the cashier. Perhaps I'm thinking about my girlfriend, or perhaps I'm thinking about a movie I saw last night, or who knows, I'm somewhere else. But the task is pretty simple, so I can still do it. And I can do it competently. That's escapism. I could also apply it as a form of meditation, because the act is very simple. So I can use it to like just focus on doing simply that thing, and then just zone out from my environment. And that means I can actually do that thing well, even though I'm not passionate about it. Now, the types of activities which require us to be mentally engaged, those are the ones where I feel this quote really hits me. Like, say, let's say planning the speech. If I didn't care at all about connecting with you guys and sharing my message, then this would be a difficult chore for me to think of something to blah 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 about here. But that isn't the case, and for this reason I was able to come up with something to tell you here tonight. So I think there's those two kinds of activities in life. And we'll get back to that, I think, a bit later. So the next point is, I would like to tell you my own experience, like what I have done to try and make something of my passion and make it a part of my lifestyle. And this, perhaps if you enter this link, yeah. Okay, so as it says, Zen-Dragon, that's my project, and I began doing this. Welcome. Grab a smoothie if you like, free. And I started doing this around the end of summer, the end of June to be more exact. And I've always been passionate about martial arts, but I wanted to like try and build something from it, try to make an impact to others. And also I've seen several people who managed to take their passion and turn it into a sort of living. So I had that idea also in mind. Primarily, I want to make an impact. Secondarily, I might turn it into something which can be work for me. Because again, I have this belief that work needs to either be something which doesn't require mental focus, where you can be elsewhere or apply it as a form of meditation, or it has to be something you're really passionate about. Okay, just for fun, let's press play. I'm just gonna try a quick explanation first. This video is one I couldn't make without connecting with others. Perhaps just a bit more. Never mind. Just full screen. Everything is explained in the video. Yeah. You can just hit in. This is not that interesting. I know it's not the best thing to say about yourself, but not in this context. Okay, so the idea of showing you this video, I've made perhaps 50 videos or some better than others, but this video is kind of special because I interacted with others using the media in Instagram. So what I did was, I think it was mentioned in the beginning, but perhaps some of you didn't notice. I asked other martial artists who are passionate about martial arts to upload a short clip of them performing some sort of martial arts and providing a message which I would share with an audience. And that's kind of what's interesting about doing something with social media, which is the way I've chosen to apply my passion. It allows interaction in a different sense than, for instance, like if you were a television program or something where it's just one-way communication. I find that it's a great way to connect with others and to gain new experiences as well. So what I've done actually with my project is, perhaps if you just hit this point where it says Zen-Dragon, because then we're, yeah, that's right. Because then we get some links to the other aspects. And don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about my project the entire time.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Kind of
This is Zen-Dragon. My life's been a ride of ups and downs.
This is like an introductory video, which you can check out if you feel like it. It's basically the story of my life, like from when I was born. So, anyways, here we have the link to the website, which I use to communicate written thoughts, like a blog. And also there's a Facebook, and there's the Instagram, which is for pictures and short clips. We don't need to watch them, but the important thing is that there are different opportunities thanks to social media. Like if you want to express some perhaps poetry or something, then blogging is a great way to do that. If you want to share like a quick picture, then there's Instagram, and there's all sorts of opportunities. And in relation to this thing about passion and prioritizing passion in our lives, I would like to bring up some of the opportunities there are today, because like we talked about earlier, society is based on the purchase and sale of time. So it can be really difficult to actually find the time to apply your passion. However, social media and technology also allows us to do something with our passion, which may end up turning it into a career. That's not the only direction to go in if you want a passionate life, but I'm just going to provide some quick examples just for inspiration. Or rather, she's going to hit the buttons, so I can take the credit for that. Yeah, this is like the website, but let's forget about that for a moment. So if you click where it says A, acrobatics.
This one?
Yes. Okay. This is one of my sources of inspiration. A crazy guy named Juji Mufu, if I pronounce it correctly. What he does is tricking, which is like really extreme acrobatics, and he also does bodybuilding, like eats crazy amounts of food and everything. But what I'm inspired about is not really his abilities, it's his passion. And the way he actually hasn't turned his passion into a form of work. On the other hand, what he's done is his founder job, he works at an office, and it's become really easy, really routine, which may sound really uninspiring. And I know like some of you are perhaps not inspired by your current work, but what's great about his job is it allows him to on the side do what he's actually passionate about. And going back to my previous point, I think if you're engaged, if your work requires your full engagement, then you won't be able to like commit to a passion after work. Then like the passion has to come from the work, I think. However, if you manage to have some sort of job, perhaps you're not even paying attention to it. Perhaps it's like a form of escapism. You're thinking of your passion while you're doing something else completely. Then that will allow you also to have passion play a key part in your life. So I think that's one of the ways of prioritizing passion. Another way is, let's hit this one where it says Z-E, yeah. Zen pencils. And perhaps I shouldn't show this source because it makes my own brand seem less original, but who cares? I was probably inspired by this subconsciously, this title, Zen. Anyways, how many of you, do any of you know this page, Zen pencils? You do? Only one person here? Sure. This is basically, you can scroll down. Yeah, we don't need to read it, so just for illustration. What this guy has done is he's passionate about drawing, and then he decided to share some inspiring quotes from any source and turn it into like a comic. And he did this to begin with because he was passionate about it, which allowed him to work hard at it, and he's actually turned it into his full-time living. There's all kinds of ways you can turn something you're passionate about into like a living. It's definitely not easy. A lot of people are trying to do this, but this guy, it could have been like advertisements or something. In this case, it's the fact that he sells posters and does like public speaking as well. He's gotten into. So there's different things you can do like this. Another example, you can just hit the next thing.
Facebook?
Yeah. How many of you are familiar with Humans of New York? Yeah. Yeah. So the story about this guy is also basically he quit his job, and he was passionate about photography and passionate about people. Now those things may, perhaps photography sounds kind of like something you could turn into a profit, but just being passionate about people, that's not like 20 years ago, no one would think you could make a living from caring about people just in that sense. Perhaps someone did, but it wouldn't be the normal idea. Anyways, what he's done is he's reached a large audience, and now he does it for a living. And I'm actually not sure how he profits, but I do know that he does it for a living. Perhaps there's some sponsorship thing, or something, there's all kinds of options. And also, you can hit the next one. What I'm trying to show you here is that you don't have to be passionate about martial arts or anything flashy. It could be about humanity. It could be about... Actually, yeah, I put up a lot of links. So
I have to log on to do it.
Yeah, it's... actually, just forget about that. I think I'm going to show something else instead. If you hit YouTube, you can just go to the Zen-Dragon thing. Yeah. Just that. That's fine. And then you enter Ask a Mortician. Now, Ask a Mortician is a really interesting approach to this thing, because this is someone who's actually passionate about being a mortician, and she has turned this into something more by creating a society where people speak about death. So I think the internet is slow, perhaps. So the most important thing is not to watch it either. You can do that sort of thing on your own time. But the idea is this person has started a YouTube channel talking about her job, which is not the most popular one, being a mortician. And she's actually created a whole conversation about one of the most taboo subjects in society, which is death. And so in this way, she's managed to turn her passion into something which makes an impact. And if she wishes to, I'm not sure if she does this or not, but if she wishes to, she's already reached an audience where she could also make a profit from it if she liked to. So I think it's time actually for all of us to get up, and those who showed at the beginning before this talk know what this is about. The rest of you, if you just stand up, this is gonna be not too complicated. And put down if you have like a smoothie, just put it down. Okay, we don't need a lot of space for this. I'm gonna ensure that we don't. Seeing as I'm a martial artist and you're all gathered here, I figured it would be fun to do just like a basic martial movement. Because who knows, perhaps someone who doesn't know it is passionate about martial arts. And also just to have you engaged. So I'm gonna do this very slowly, and I'm gonna explain what I'm doing. You're gonna practice with me, so you're just gonna try and follow my movement slowly. Now, whether I'm doing something with my left or my right hand, that doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't even matter if you do this well or not, because it's your first time trying, so who cares? Just try it. So we're gonna block and punch. This is a strike, this hand, this is a block. Then we're gonna strike for the groin. Then we're gonna bring the elbow up and hit the chin of the opponent. And then we're gonna strike for the throat. Okay? Are you guys ready to try and do it a bit quick? No? Okay. We have to try anyways. Okay. So, block, strike. Are you with me? Yes. Groin, chin, neck. Alright, cool. I just wanted to try that thing out. Alright, you can sit down. Thank you. Okay. So, in relation to what I talked about with my theory that there are two sorts of things we can, like two approaches to work. Either you find some sort of work where you don't have to focus on that, and then you don't need to be passionate about it. Then you also have the energy to apply your passion outside of work. Or you find something which you're really passionate about and either turn it into work, or you turn your work into something you can be passionate about, like realizing what's fascinating about working at a library, for instance. What is it which makes that thing exciting? That's pretty much the conclusion I'd like to leave you with before we're going to do a Q&A session here at the end. But the conclusion is very simple, I think. I think the conclusion is that either we need to have passion in our work, or we need to have some sort of work which allows us to have passion in our life. So that means perhaps if your passion is skydiving, then that's an expensive passion. Then you have to perhaps work your ass off, or perhaps you have a well-paid job, and that can make it possible, but you have to work to be able to follow that passion. Now, but it could also be that perhaps you turn your passion into your work. Like, for instance, every struggling actor, like most of them, I would estimate, are really passionate about what they do because it's a really difficult career path. So I think that's sort of what you need to think about. If you're working, and if you're not, you're probably gonna be working at some point, I guess. Are you passionate about the work you do? Or does the work you do allow you to be passionate about something else? Now, it doesn't have to be one thing, it can also be several things. But that's the thing I want to share with you. And yes, that's it. Now, I'm going to allow you to ask some questions, provide some comments. Really anything just that you're curious about, feel free to ask. And also, I know it's difficult to come up with the question right on the spot, so I'm not busy if you're not. Yeah.
I actually just remembered that I sometimes, whenever I want to travel, for example, then if I don't want to travel alone, then I sometimes have difficulty finding someone who wants or can join me.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of what you said, that time is money, because what I usually say in these kind of contexts is that either that person or the people that I would like to travel with and that would like to travel with me, they either don't have money or they don't have time.
Yeah.
So this is kind of even a different perspective to what you said before.
Yeah.
But it happens, from my point of view, very fast that when you work a lot in order to have money, to achieve the things that you really want to do, then you actually don't have time to spend that money.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if you're, for example, a student and you have very little money, then you basically just can't do it, even though you would have time and would be flexible to, I don't know, travel whenever it would be possible. So
Yes. That's a very good point, because that's sort of the struggle in modern life, I think. That it's easy for me to stand here and talk about these things. It's more difficult for me to actually apply this to my own life, and it's also a challenge for you guys, I'm sure. Because like she said, a lot of times either you have A or you have B. Perhaps you have the money, but then you're spending so much time earning them that you have no time to spend them. Or the other way around. I practiced martial arts self-defense lessons with a homeless guy. Now this guy, he has, time is definitely a resource that he has. He has a lot of time, even though he works, because he has the freedom to just say, okay, I'm just going to put my work to the side, I'm just going to practice martial arts with you, like he did with me once. But he doesn't have a lot of wealth. He doesn't have the financial resources to, for instance, go traveling. So that can be really difficult, like managing to have both. I think it depends on what you value, because who am I to say that materialism is wrong if it's like the answer to someone? It's not the answer to me, so I don't feel like I can understand whether it is the answer or not for someone. But if you find that a big screen TV isn't what makes you happy, then perhaps, and you have it, perhaps you can sell it, and you have some more money, you have some more freedom. Or perhaps you can try and settle for something less expensive in terms of where you're living, to try and have more financial freedom. But it's definitely difficult. Very good question, thank you. I would like to hear, like, some of you, perhaps your passions are not as specific as like martial arts or something like that, but is there anyone who has like a sort of knows what can narrow down, like, this is my passion? Someone here? Yeah?
I can.
Yes?
I'm really passionate about people as well, but in a broad perspective, I've always been sewing and designing my whole life.
Yeah.
And later I found out that I really love people. So I'm working here.
Okay. Yeah, this place actually?
Yeah, this place here.
Yeah.
At Culture Istanbul, so it's a lot of different places. And I just started as an event coordinator.
Yeah.
So I make events, so I'm really hvad hedder det nu?
In Danish, I speak Danish as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to do stuff quick because I get impatient. That's the word,
exactly.
impatient.
Yeah.
So this is a great place for me because I can do stuff like design and be active and actually see ahead of the future where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And then the next thing comes up. But
Yeah.
I'm also a designer, so later in life I know I want to have my own company. So this is also for me, but also for learning. So I can have some time also for myself, meditating and all that stuff. So just a learning experience, so I can end up at that point later in life. So I have it all planned out specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite a privilege, actually, I think, to be able to be paid
but
for something.
It's hard to actually find the ways because it's uphill and downhill all the time. So find the right education and go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spend your time well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. And speaking of uphill, downhill, the way I see it, I think a lot in terms of yin and yang. It's actually the symbol here, which I'm sure you can't tell. But I think a lot in terms of yin and yang, and I think actually that in order to feel the high, I think you need to be down low sometimes. Let's say like a rock star. Like most guys probably have the dream of becoming a rock star, perhaps because they figure, okay, great, I can get lots of girls, lots of guys, if that's your thing, whatever. The thing I've heard from various rock stars, because that's also a passion of mine, like music, is that usually like they no longer get a kick or anything out of love, because lust rather, because it's just too easy. It's way too damn easy. And that applies to the thing with you experiencing lows and highs. I think you need to experience both to fully be able to take in the highs.
Yeah, and
I think you need the lows. Have anyone here ever quit their job? Yeah?
I was working in the supermarket, and like you, like and it was fine in the beginning because it was a little bit new and I had to learn it and all this. And then after, I think, 2 weeks, I got absolutely crazy and I was being one of those crazy ladies standing up and doing all the things because I couldn't sit still, you know. And then in the end, I had to quit because it was too boring, too quiet, and too. It that's not me.
Yes, and I could tell there's quite a few others who have also chosen to quit the job. Like, it's always, of course, when you enter a job, you're hoping that it goes well, but I think quitting your job, it may be the right choice if, as I see, it's very simple, like the conclusion, that basically either your job allows you to live a life which where you feel joy and where you get to apply your passion somehow, either after work or as part of the work. And I know from experience that work can be very both time consuming and also consume all of your energy. So sometimes perhaps quitting your job is the right thing. Yeah. Any other questions or comments perhaps? You can also ask about me if you feel like.
Yeah, Michael, can we turn it to more practical side? Like, can you tell how you find your own pleasure and joy?
Yes.
Because, well, from my own experience and from people from my generation, we find it difficult even to find what we want to do. That's the biggest question to start from.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I'm passionate about, but like my passion for martial arts, it has always been there without me really thinking much about it, just from the fact of just watching like martial arts movie and just thinking, oh, that looks cool, like a lot of kids do, and I never did anything about it until I was like 24 years old, and I walked by this poster for a Kung Fu club, and it's actually where I practice today, and I'm also an instructor, and just taking that step in that direction turned it from just something I was sort of interested in to becoming like a real passion of mine. So I think it's important to step that way. Now, in regards to your question, I also think you'd like to hear some kind of advice about how to turn that passion into something you can do for a living, or perhaps something you can fit into your life. And that's a struggle, definitely. Also for me, actually. One of the ways, but that's like a long process, which you don't know the end destination of, would be to like perhaps create a project like I've done and try to use social media as a platform to reach others, because as soon as you reach people with what you're passionate about, and there's gonna be, if you're passionate about something, there's gonna be someone else who's passionate about it as well. Once you reach people, then there's all kinds of potential for turning that into like a living profit, either through sponsorships or advertisements or something else. There's a lot of opportunities there, but it's really difficult, and I have no idea whether that ever happens for me. So I have to just be content with the process of my project, which I am. Another way could be like, if this thing becomes a lot bigger than it is now, then perhaps that may be what I'm making a living of. So that's at least my sort of practical advice.
It also requires some degree of, to really decide so that I will focus on this and I don't listen to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely a cultural pressure which we face, which can determine where we end up in life. But I think in regards to like listening to your own passion and following that, I think it's very important to like try and tune out those voices, because even if you become like a CEO of a big company, then in the end, what does it matter if the reason why you did it was because everyone told you that that's how you become a success? To me, success means it means actually when you are going to die, that you can look back on life and feel like I actually spent my time doing what I would what I felt like to the extent possible. So it's of course difficult to try and tune out the external pressures and try to feel within, but I think it's also very important. Yeah.
My question is, what function is martial arts for most people who engage in martial arts? I mean, it is self-defense or emotional expression or emotional communication?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. There's a lot of aspects to martial arts, and I find that the richest experience I get from martial arts is by focusing on different aspects. You can't focus on all of it all at once, but at times I've been very focused on self-defense, where sparring is important, and you're not gonna do something like this if you're gonna try and defend yourself, because that's not. I would probably be lying on my ass right now if I tried to do that, unless I'm really lucky and perhaps the person is drunk or something. So some people are very focused on self-defense. That's one aspect. Another aspect may be like the freedom of movement, or perhaps, like you said, emotional expression. There's also, in the martial arts thing, there's also this culture of reflection, at least in Asian martial arts, which goes back to the yin and yang principle. Like, you're learning to use your body, so you need to balance it with your mind. So people get a lot of different experiences from martial arts, I think. It's very much up to the individual. And for you guys, if anyone is considering like a martial art, then there's some martial arts are more focused on one thing, like Krav Maga is very much self-defense orientated. And for instance, Tai Chi, it's practiced almost as a form of meditation. So it can be this and that. Yeah.
I have one more thought. I recently watched a TED Talk, and it was about maybe there's not just for one particular person, there might not be just one passion. There might be several things that they are passionate about. Mm-hmm. So I think it's also maybe, let's say that there's this pressure from society that we are supposed to do this and that, that's one thing. And then there's the pressure that if we do something and we decide to do it, then it has to be something that we're passionate about, and that has to be the one thing, like the most important thing that we are going to love doing for the rest of our life, let's say.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is necessarily the non-plus ultra, let's say. It should be, maybe we should also not limit ourselves to only one thing that we're passionate about.
Yeah. I definitely think so too, and I'm also passionate about other things than martial arts, but I definitely think so too. Also, I think there's the pressure of doing what society sees as a success. There's also the pressure of the cliche, the typical cliche, follow your passion. And I do want to leave you with this conclusion, to follow your passion, but there's not just one way to do it. And just to keep things simple, I would actually say there's just two ways of doing it, but it is difficult. Either, like, you use your work to make room for passion or make money for passion, for instance, with skydiving. Or the work is actually a part of your passion. But, and just speaking of which, passion, it might as well be employed. Perhaps your passion is being there for your friends and riding your bicycle, and that's not really the point. The point is to try and become aware of what makes you happy, so you can try and prioritize that to the extent possible. And I don't have any more answers than that. Really, I don't, because I think life is always going to be a struggle, and perhaps that's also a good thing. Speaking of the highs and the lows, like if there was just one basic answer, perhaps it would be like a flat, boring experience. So yeah. Are there any other questions? Because otherwise I'll just thank you all for coming and being a part of this, and also for having so many interesting questions as well.
What's your goal, for example, what's your position after 10 years?
Yeah, I don't tend to think that long term. Rather, I don't tend to think in terms of time. But one of my goals with this project is to see if I can turn that into a living at some point. And I know, that's my major goal. I have a lot of minor goals, and one goal I know I'm going to reach is the conclusion that I know whether I could turn this into a living or not, because I'm gonna try and do my best with it, and then I'll see. But the destination I want to arrive at is happiness, at least some level of happiness, and I already feel pretty happy a lot of the time, so that's good at least. But yeah, I have a lot of dreams, but I think it's important not to be too narrow-minded and focused on your dream. Like, I've had a dream of just exploring the world and trying to live a life of freedom and adventure. I've also had a dream of settling down with a girl who means a lot to me, and trying to establish a family and safety in that sense, because I never actually really had that myself. Both my parents, my mom is mentally ill and my dad has drug problems. So that's one dream, and then that's the opposite dream. But even so, perhaps I'll have another dream 10 years from now. I think also we can't all realize our dreams, because it's not all up to us. So I think it's important, if you're focused just on one thing and it doesn't seem possible, then it's important to also be able to look in other directions and try and look at other opportunities. And by all means, if no other opportunity makes sense to you, if there's nothing else you're passionate about that's going to make you happy, then go for the one thing which makes you happy, even if it never works. Because that's what it's about. But it's definitely important to be able to dream new dreams, I think.
Same. I have a lot of things that I'm actually passionate about. And I don't really set goals for me, 10 years from now and stuff, because it never works out. So I want to be happy, but the first thing I found out it's the most important thing for me, I learned, to look inside yourself, accept yourself, and be happy with who you are. And after that, you can actually be focused on saying, maybe your parents are saying, oh, you should do this and you should do that, but then you're actually okay with yourself and you're accepting yourself and what your goals are, so you can actually find the passion and see what things that you're actually good at. And then you can look into multiple ways of maybe making that a success or a way of living in the future. So you can, when you already seen that path, you can actually see more path afterwards to see the end goal of your passion.
But at the end, we should choose one of that many ways, because we should not go from one branch to another branch.
No, it should all make sense. So you should see your vision in the future. But if you have a lot of things that maybe you should try some out, and then you find out, oh, maybe they connected in some way. So if you try it, you find new ways. So you end up with an end goal of actually being happy in the future, but also do maybe 3 things at once that you actually can combine in one job, or something like that.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
How old are you? Oh, it was me.
Both.
How old are you?
Okay, first you, then you. Yeah.
25.
Yeah, you're still young. As long as you're young, there's plenty of opportunity. Just try a lot of things. Try as many things as you can.
Even if you're old.
Yeah, exactly. I said that's
Who
true.
knows who's
Many
gonna
things
live
that you can.
longest? Perhaps some gonna. Who knows? That's a pessimistic thought, but we have no idea who's gonna die first here. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities. I think also in regards to happiness, I think also more than it's just about finding that one thing. I think it can be several things, but I think it's also the journey of it all. Like with my project, for instance, this would be like, it's something that's so difficult to succeed at, so it would be like a definite failure if I didn't enjoy what I actually did. And in the end, it's about the process. If I hate doing this, then who cares if it turns into like something big? Because at the end, like going back to the pessimistic view and with death, at the end, that's what you're gonna be thinking about. Like, did you enjoy the things you did in life? I don't think it's gonna matter like how much credit you got for it, or how much money you earned, unless the money you earned allowed you to enjoy life even more, which is definitely possible. So yeah, I think it's very much about the journey, I think. Mika, yeah.
Yeah, back to your question about finding your own passion. In my case, when I was a kid, I really loved animals and drawing and building with Lego because that made me happy. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes your passion change. Sometimes you can't really find one or two passions which you stick with the whole time. Sometimes you only stick to it in a period of time, and then you move on and evolve as a person, and then you find a new passion, and then you follow them in an amount of time. So you can't really, it differs from person to person that you might find a passion which you can stick with the whole time, or not the whole time, and sometimes it's just parts and parts and parts in your whole life. So you just need to find the parts or a whole thing which makes you happy.
And also trying new things also gives you a lot of experience.
Yeah.
You can use probably later on.
Sometimes you need to experience the bottom before you know what's good. You know, you need to experience what's bad before you know what's good. So you just need to move on and try as much as possible.
And just say yes to everything.
Yes, yes. Honestly, say yes, because then you learn when to say no.
I had one year I just said almost yes to anything.
You see the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some passions which are completely opposite. For example, I'm a programmer. At the same time, I like to take part in social activities. But programmers are introvert people.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm extrovert.
Yeah.
So they are contradicting each other.
Yeah.
But it's a great ability you have then.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But it makes my life very challenging because I have challenges in
But it's
both
never
two
boring.
directions.
Boring.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's never boring.
Never boring,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Lots of challenges.
Yeah, it's not always that like everything just makes complete sense in the way we're wired and everything. It doesn't to me either. It's not just like everything I'm thinking about is just constantly martial arts and it's the only passion of mine. No, it doesn't. What's interesting kind of about this project, and I have no idea if I'll ever turn it into work or not. Perhaps I'll kill my passion by turning it into work at some point, who knows. But what's interesting is this is actually one of the things where I found several things I enjoy and feel I'm good at. Sometimes I think I lost track. Sorry.
How long has it been doing it?
Zen-Dragon, yeah. I started this thing on the 28th of June. That's when I started.
This year?
This year, yeah.
Exactly. And think about how much you've learned since then.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Because
crazy.
I know you've learned a lot of things since then.
Yeah.
Not just about social media, but practical things like editing, photo editing, all kinds of stuff. I know you learned a lot.
Yeah.
And that might be knowledge that you can use later on. There's a lot of knowledge that you've gained in such a short amount of time. So even if it doesn't succeed, the knowledge that you gained isn't necessarily worthless.
Yes.
So that's, I think, a big takeaway.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of success ways to arrive at success at this. For me, just basically, and that's why I decided to just dive into this thing. It's just, for me, it's already a success to know that I've really pursued something. Like, I've seen all the TED Talks with people talking like me and talking about, oh, follow your passions, do what you're passionate about. But just actually, just the process of just trying that, that's a success. Then there's the learning experience, like this guy, actually my friend Hodja, he actually taught me a lot about video editing, and the rest I learned on my own. So that's something. And like learning the differences between Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, for instance, and so the social media marketing. Then there's the people I've met who I would never have met otherwise. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this has been a great success, whether or not I realize my end goal. And also, like, I believe perfection is like a moving target. Because if I were to reach my end goal, let's say being able to buy like a helicopter, let's just Zen-Dragon, let's just say that, then I think the way we're wired as people, probably because of evolution, is I would find something new to reach for. My goal would keep changing. And going back to what I said about focus on the journey in terms of happiness, I think that's also one of the reasons why we need to forget about just constantly focusing on the destination, because it changes when you get there. Then you'll find something new you need to follow. So I think it's a lot about the journey.
Sometimes the destination is in front of you, but the way is very challenging, and you should only focus on your destination and forget about what's happening around you. That's also another key.
Yeah, that could definitely be a key, because if you're focused on one thing, that it makes it a lot easier to reach that one thing. Just because I'm a huge martial arts geek, I'm gonna relate that to martial arts just quickly. Like, for instance, with self-defense, we know that like your visual perspective, it becomes more narrow, and that can actually be a disadvantage in terms of self-defense, because like perhaps you no longer realize that there's a way to escape right over there if someone's attacking you. But the evolutionary reason for this is like, if you're a tiger and then another tiger shows up, then you're just focused on that one tiger. And having that narrow perspective, like you said, it really allows you to focus on the one thing you wish to achieve, like killing that tiger. I'm sure that's not your goal, but yeah. Yeah.
You could also say, like, focusing on, for example, martial arts. Instead of focusing on becoming the perfect martial artist, you focus on a kick at a time or a punch at a time, and then you get better and better. But your focus would always be like right in front of you. So it's the small steps, and you'll become really good at it. But you'll never be like, you'll never reach the end goal. But you'll keep having a focus all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just setting tiny goals. It's way easier to realize a tiny goal than it is to realize a huge goal. And going back to the thing about passion, a lot of times our passion may be related to like a huge goal. By the way, just a quick thing, like if any of you are busy, feel free to, if you need to get somewhere, feel free to get up and leave, because I'm really glad for this discussion and all of these questions, but who knows, perhaps people are busy. Anyways, I shouldn't have said that. Now I forgot the thing.
Focus. We're talking about focus.
Yeah.
Being good at the small steps.
Speaking of focus. Yeah. Anyways, I was gonna say something really wise, so yeah. I think I forgot it.
I want to say thank you, Mikael, because you came here and had this talk for free.
Yes. And also, like, thank you to you guys for showing up here this evening, this cold evening, and for asking all of these great questions. I hope that I've provided something you can all think about, and I think you've also provided something which will be lingering in my mind a bit in regards to passion and stuff. So thanks.